Good day and welcome. Welcome to the show. Um, I don't want to be so excited because with this administration, we have bad news. It's, I don't know, every hour you get anxiety. I'm like anxiety driven because sometimes when I pay too much attention, sometimes I have to detach myself because it's, worse and wronger. Like somebody made a joke, wronger, because you don't know what is coming. Executive order to cut this, executive order to cut that. You don't know, but somebody told me we have to keep hope alive. We need to regroup. Before we lost the election, I voted for Kamala, of course. I'm a working class. I went to all the marches. I went to the rallies. I marched in Washington Heights. I went to the Union by City Hall. I went to other like NYU. I was constantly speaking to friends and family because I know what was coming if this man won the elections and went into the White House. With all that said, we need to regroup. I'm gathering my strength because I'm going to be marching again. Because remember, 50 states are marching again this administration. You don't see it on mainstream media. That's why MNN is such a great outlet. Because sometimes I even watch when I visit my mother, you see news and pieces of news that you don't see in other mainstream medias. You know that all of the TV stations on mainstream media are owned by Republicans. They have the agenda. You don't see many pieces like you see at MNN or like Democracy Now! With Amy Goodman and cable. But the fact is that cable attracts less people than mainstream. Mainstream media still holds a large audience. Going back to the regrouping, we need to regroup again, of course, like they are doing in many states. We need to do more rallies and marches. It's winter cold outside. It's very hard. And like today, it's very, very cold. It's like 20. And it feels even colder because of the winds and the windshield factor. But we begin the show by sharing these 4 pieces that I will be speaking about. Social Security, immigration news, who is being deported, food prices, remember the campaign, all the attacks that the Biden administration received, and regret sets in for Trump voters as Republican politicians panic. The piece later that I'm going to be sharing on video will be done by Alex Lawson, invited by Sam Seder at the Majority Report, and it's titled The Assault on Social Security. The Social Security is being attacked by Republicans, I think, ever since its insertion by FDR. Republicans have always been tried to attack it, to cut it, to rumors, undermine it, fraud. You know that Social Security is not an entitlement. Social Security is like a form of it's a smaller pension than the real pensions that people have, but it's more security. Remember, government money is the most secure money that we have so far until this administration. I don't know after these 4 years if we're going to make it. But Social Security is money that you put in, and that when you retire, well, you're like me, I'm not 25 anymore. You get your nice check. It's like decency. Nobody gets rich with Social Security. It's like of unions. You don't get rich with unions. You get like a decent living. Of course, the more money you make, the better, you are a little more comfortable. Ronald Reagan hated public workers. The Social Security assault started in the 80s. I don't know if you remember, well, I wasn't here in the 70s. So, but The problem started when these Republicans got like a beautiful package to attract, and Ronald Reagan was the poster child. Oh, he was so nice. Oh, he loved his lady, Nancy Reagan. He was a movie star. Oh, so nice. Everybody clapped. But in reality, Ronald Reagan hated public workers. Social Security, they wanted to take Social Security from police officers, teachers, firefighters to diminish the power of organized labor against his giving money to billionaires. We need a progressive taxation to offset the 80s destruction. Remember, Social Security chief actuary stated that people living longer doesn't affect Social Security. Less workers for retirees doesn't affect Social Security. Unauthorized illegal immigrants don't get Social Security. They don't, they don't affect, because remember, people who don't have a Social Security number don't get any Social Security. 90% of rich people made all their money and don't pay any Social Security into Social Security. Billionaires, and they were expecting, billionaires will do the right thing. No, billionaires won't do the right thing. They don't care. Look at now. For instance, one of the most famous billionaires in the world, Elon Musk, made his money from government contracts. Isn't that fascinating? Elon didn't pay any taxes last year, 2024. Elon Musk, my paper is running away from me, did not pay any taxes on 2024. Also, Lawson is going to be talking about, Alex is going to be talking about the 401k. It sounds so great, but the 401ks are destroying the pension system in America.
Reforms signed by Ronald Reagan, they included that raising the retirement age from 65 to 67. So currently, it is 67 for people who are approaching that age, and that's called the full retirement age. An important thing to note here is that has nothing to do with when you actually retire. You can retire whenever you want. What that age is the age at which you receive the full benefit amount. You can start receiving benefits as early as 62, and you can delay until 70. The reason that's important is because it's not a retirement age. It's a mathematical formula, and each year you raise it is a 7% benefit cut. It's not like a 7% benefit cut. It is an across-the-board 7% benefit cut. So what Ronald Reagan did is he cut everyone's benefits by 14%. Okay? So 65 to 67, 14% benefit cut. We'll come back to, yes, that means that the current proposals to raise it to 70 are a 21% benefit cut. But when Reagan signed that 14% benefit cut into law, he also put in place, because he hated public employees, right? If you know the history of Ronald Reagan.
Before we can get to this, I just want to add one thing too. In 1983, the idea that Social Security as one of three legs on a three-legged stool as to what your retirement would be, people had yet to be able to look back on the Reagan era and see that there was going to be a full-on assault on defined benefit pensions. It used to be you worked for a company, they put money into your pension, they told you the day you signed a deal with them, I'm working here. If you work here for 20 years or 25 years, you're going to get a pension, and your pension is going to be $1,500 a month or $2,000 a month or whatever it is, defined benefit. And during the Reagan era, that was assaulted and destroyed and became a defined contribution pension, which meant there's a definite amount I got to put in, but what I get out, the company can play loose and fast with it. and also an attempt to basically juice the stock market by putting a 401k in there. So even back then, a 14% cut ultimately for people born after 1960 is still seen in the context of a pension system that no longer exists.
That's totally true. This is why it's fun talking with you. I could just sit here nodding along. You have to understand, like, the magnitude of what you just went over, though, is most people, just because it's hard, right? Like, if you never had it. But what we lost with pensions is unimaginable. The freedom and security that they provided. The fact that you knew, and this isn't like a new concept, just for the record, like, pensions are a really old concept, because people knew, like, at some point you're going to become old and you're going to want to retire. So a company needs to actually replace some of your wages to keep you working. The idea that you get nothing from the company that you put 25, 35 years of your life into, that's a radical, reactionary, and brand new concept that started in the 80s with Reagan. And if you want to Google it and kind of be sad, funny, the guy who created 401ks is deeply sorry about it now. He never thought that it would lead to the total destruction of the pension system in the United States of America. And he admits that it's a huge mistake. The only thing that 401ks did is made the rich even richer, and working people just got hosed.
And so Social Security becomes that much more important as an insurance as to keeping you out of poverty when you're elderly.
Exactly. For my age, for folks who are just entering retirement now, and it actually is just it's a scale. The younger you are, the more important Social Security is going to be for your retirement, because of a multitude of things, but stagnating wages, student loans, all sorts of things that the younger you are, the worse financial situation you're in right now, the worse your retirement situation is going to be. And that's who these billionaires are like, yeah, just cut their benefits by 21%. Do you want to go back to WebGPO, though?
Yes, please. Yeah, so Reagan, hostility towards public workers,
He hates public workers, so he creates this policy. I don't want to go too deep into it. If you want to email me, I'll give you all the details. But it was a brutal attack. And it was part of this larger package. So they were able to get it through because it was like, okay, we're going to literally just take Social Security benefits from teachers, police officers, and firefighters. And it was like, what? Why? And Reagan was like, because we don't like public workers. We want to diminish their power, right? Because they were against his neoliberal agenda. Organized labor fought against, giving all of the money to the billionaires. So this was a policy enacted 41 years ago, specifically designed to hurt teachers, firefighters, and police officers. And what it does is it just lowers some of those people's Social Security benefits by a significant amount. It's an enormous reduction. So the average Social Security benefit is only $1,900 as is, and you're talking about hundreds of dollars in monthly reductions, up to a grand. It could basically have somebody's benefits. And teachers, firefighters, and police officers, and it's been in place since '83. And through really, I'll tell you one thing is when I've spoken in every state in this country except for 4, and everywhere I go.
The immigration news, it is so sad that people fall into the lies of Donald Trump. Remember, New York is being known as being a smart state. You might not be a political activist. You might not be a political savvy, quick, but you know what time it is. You know that when somebody is trying to scam you, you know who's scamming you in New York. You are telling me that you believe Donald Trump, whose wife is an immigrant, she came to the United States with an Einstein visa. An Einstein visa is given to people that are very smart, that, they make they made a thesis, they have a program, an investigation, they created a piece of work that merit that visa. Melania, they consider her artistic in Europe because she posts nude in magazines. They saw it as an art, which, okay, that's okay with them. I am not who to criticize art. But to get an Einstein visa for modeling, I find that hard to believe. So people on the streets got conned talking about immigration. No. Immigration, because I know so many immigrants, they are like stealing jobs from people. They're going to be deported. People, they lied. When you see 2 and 2 is 4, 2 and 5 is not 4. The agenda of the immigration that is appealing to white people is that they were stealing your jobs, which is a lie. I spoke about it in previous shows, and I got the videos I know immigration people who are that are working. Working is not a fraud. So they threatened, he lied. The immigration that is taking its place in this country, if you can tell, normally is against brown people. Prove me wrong. I need to do more investigation about this. But the ones that I have seen now, so far, are brown people. I haven't seen any French people get illegal, and we have. French people being deported, British people being deported. Like, for instance, Prince Harry, he's an immigrant. He's not an American citizen. I wonder if he's going to be deported. Meghan Markle, they are immigrants. All I have seen is people, Colombians, Dominicans, being deported. And some of them are being embarrassed because they've been shackled. And don't tell me about the criminals, because we have the police and the FBI to deport criminals. They have drug dealers, they have big rich people that are, the FBI after them. That's their job. And immigration at the border, Joe Biden had a program that all Republicans in Congress, in the House, voted against.
Campaign promises to begin mass deportations of immigrants. The Trump administration has fired a number of immigration judges that would have heard those immigration cases, leading to confusion among those who are closest to these courts.
It was just earlier this month that NBC5 Investigates reported on a massive backlog in immigration courts and the need for additional immigration judges. Our investigative reporter Bennett Haberly is here now in the studio, joins us now with more. Bennett?
Stefan and Allison, the exact number of judges who were terminated appears to be between 19 or 20, according to our source and those of NBC News. And it's happening at a time when immigration courts already face millions of backlogged cases.
Over the weekend, news broke that at least 20 immigration judges, including 13 in their probationary status, had been fired by the Trump administration. One took to LinkedIn to post about her firing, writing, quote, "The firing occurred despite the fact that immigration court has in the neighborhood of 3.5 million pending cases, and the Department of Justice is asking Congress for more money to hire people." She went on to write, hint, "Don't fire the people you already have." Earlier this month, NBC5 Investigates reported on the immigration court backlog and this 2023 Congressional Research Service study that showed the backlog of cases where immigrants are either seeking asylum or fighting deportation is so immense that adding another 300 judges wouldn't clear it for 10 years. In fact, the same study pointed out that it would take an additional 700 judges, more than 1,300 in total, to clear the backlog by 2032.
It's hard to put it into perspective when you really think about it, because essentially it's charging each immigration judge with 4,000 or 5,000 cases, and that's just a huge docket when you compare that to just about any other court.
Retired immigration judge James Fujimoto says immigration courts have historically been underfunded, and because they operate under the executive branch's Department of Justice, what gets prioritized can change depending on who's in office.
They're saying they're going to put these people on a fast track to get out of our country. You're saying the law doesn't allow that to happen.
There's only so much you can do. You can say we want to emphasize certain kinds of cases and put those types of cases on a faster track, faster adjudication. That you can do, you know, if you're in charge.
Good morning, and thank you for being here.
News of the firings drew a rebuke Monday from Democratic members of Congress, including Illinois Representative Chuy Garcia.
This is the wrong way to go. We need more immigration judges, not less.
And we reached out to the Department of Justice and the White House today asking for an explanation on these firings. We are still waiting for a response. In the meantime, retired Judge Fujimoto told me today he too was unclear why the Trump administration would want to get rid of judges, as they would be the ones to hear and decide these cases. It is not clear if the Trump White House wants to use a procedure known as expedited removal to try to cut out judges from this process. Stephen?
Bennett Haberly asking some.
Number 3, food prices. Food prices. Food prices were supposed to be coming down on day 1. Do you remember Trump campaign's promise? Food prices are coming down. People in my neighborhood, I went to, what's the name, Bravo or Seatown? And one of the workers was telling me, oh, Trump, I vividly remember, Trump is going to bring down those prices. I said, oh, wow. You know, it's a 1-minute conversation. Trump is going to bring those prices down. Yes. You sure? Oh, yes. You know, I cannot debate with him. Going to the supermarket, and, you know, me and my friend Rosie, we went. And guess what? Look at now. People were complaining that the egg carton at the time was $3.99. People were complaining about, I know other people, friends and family. No, this is too much. Kamala and Biden, it's Biden's fault. Oh, Biden, I know my own brother told me that it was Biden's fault, that he could have stopped. He doesn't know, you know, like sometimes people don't know and there's nothing you can do. He doesn't know that free commerce, the law of free commerce is here. Like if you go to Whole Foods, you know that food prices are higher than if you go to the Seatown in the Bronx. Like if you go over there, you see that the shrimps, the seafood are more expensive than the ones that they have in Seatown. Anyways, during the campaign last year, many people were blaming Kamala Harris and Joe Biden for the high food prices we were seeing. You know, egg carton was $3.99. Now, average of an egg carton is $10.95, $12, etc. And I'm not talking about during the pandemic. Yes, during the pandemic, food prices were very expensive. We had a pandemic. I don't blame the Trump administration and I don't blame the Biden administration. No. Remember, it was very expensive. There was no production. There was no people on the field. But the only problem I have is that Trump promised during the campaign that he was going to lower the food prices. He specifically spoke about it. He said that he was going to lower the food prices.
Very quickly. This will rapidly drive prices down, lower interest rates, and put more money into the pockets of American consumers. It'll also bring your grocery bill way down. I have more complaints on grocery. The word grocery, you know, it's sort of simple word, but it sort of means like everything you eat. The stomach is speaking. It always does.
Number 4, regret sets in for Trump voters as Republican politicians panic. Katie, Alabama, Georgia, Mississippi, Florida, Louisiana. Oh, by the way, they have one of the biggest rallies in Florida. Florida state that is Republican, mostly, you know, they have Democrats over there too. One of the biggest demonstration in Florida. Media, go to Florida if you want like footage of the people. Like in Alabama, they are complaining because they have the Birmingham, Alabama University, the Research Institute for Cancer and Biomedics. The Trump administration is cutting funds. Elon Musk and the Doge, a fake, DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency. What a fraud. Trump spent, I don't know, I think about 20 million going to the Super Bowl, about $20 million. Just a waste of money. Then, I don't know if you saw the video clip that he went to NASCAR, and he used the limo, the presidential limo running. What a waste of money, what a waste of time. Doge, so that's not government waste. The Pentagon, I think he should go into the Pentagon to define what government waste is. Because remember, on the national budget, the Pentagon and the Department of War, the Department of Defense, they get the most money. You know, in money, millions, billions allocated. You know how much money they spend for a box of nails, etc. Well, going back to Trump voters, they are panicking because remember, Florida is one of the largest. Florida, Alabama, Kentucky, Arkansas. Remember, they are the red states, of course. They want one of the highest Medicare and Medicaid consumers, especially Medicaid. Remember, the highest poverty rates are the red states. Look in New York, everybody has Medicaid, Medicare, Section 8. You know, Section 8, I give it to them. It's federal.